Welcome to a Mortgage Coach educational experience. My name is Dave Savage, CEO of Mortgage Coach, and this is a first time we are re-recording our Tuesday interview. So last Tuesday, I interviewed two amazing mortgage professionals. We had countless people ask us, where's the recording? Well, we had a technical glitch, and first time it's happened, knock on wood, in 7 years, but it did happen. Apologize for all of you that wanted the recording earlier. And super apologize to Kathryn and Kelly because we're going to redo a Mortgage Coach call now. So thank you, guys.
Thanks, Dave.
All right. So let's start off. Kathryn, you are just a super successful mortgage professional. If you wouldn't mind sharing everybody a little bit about yourself, the market you're in, and your mortgage why, and then we'll get into the content of today's call.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been a mortgage lender in Steamboat for lender in Steamboat for about 15 years now, and was with a local bank for a long time, and really started there working with clients and teaching them as much as I could. And then about 4 years ago, left the bank to do more mortgage banking, and that was huge, and created a team and all of that. So we're in a tiny town. The town's about 12,000, county under 25,000, so pretty small area. And I've got 3 other people in my office, and everybody, my team's amazing, and we kind of rock it out and do as much as we can. So love what I do.
Well, you do a lot for such a small market. I remember when I did our top producer interview a few months ago, it was all around big success in a small market. So really exciting to have this. Now, today's call, we're going to talk about how you transform from being more than a loan officer. You're a teacher, you're a trainer. So real quick, if you could just give folks a little color around how many realtors do you train? How much are you speaking and training realtors?
Yeah, so we do a lot more classes in the fall, winter, and spring, because summer is our crazy time here. So we try to hit them with regular CE at least once a month during that time, and then do some sort of other speaking engagement probably one other time at least a month. And we also hit the offices, do that kind of special type of training as well.
Very cool. So folks, this call is all about how to turn realtor training into your local competitive advantage. Now, both Kelly and Kathryn, they both have their CE certified trainers, but they also do a lot of training that is not CE certified trainers. So we'll speak to that as we go. So Kelly, if you wouldn't mind, just tell us a little bit about your marketplace and a little bit about how you've turned helping and training realtors into a competitive advantage.
Sure, Dave. So I am in Scottsdale, Arizona. We're actually located in Maricopa County, which is a very, very, very large county. So we lend all over, certainly not just in Scottsdale, anywhere from the Phoenix metropolitan areas is kind of what I like to say. I've been lending for 20 years, and for me, I like to say my career was really kind of in 2 halves, if you will. There was the first half that occurred prior to 2008, and then the second half, which is what I'm in now. And that's really important, Dave, because it truly was the real estate bubble crash, whatever you want to call it, that got me into teaching, that really just inspired me to kind of share with the community what was going on, what we could do about it, because certainly there was a lot of people that felt out of control when the Arizona market just really collapsed. And people didn't know where to turn. Realtors were desperate for information, and nobody was really talking. It felt to me like, people just froze in time. So I had an opportunity and really didn't know where it was going to take me, but it was truly the path that was in my head and my heart, and it's kind of led me to where I'm at today. So today I teach anywhere from 6 to 8 types of speaking engagements per month, 2 of which will be CE. The others will just be maybe a lunch and learn or some type of just conversation about mortgage lending or selling or whatever it is that the audience is looking to learn from me.
Love it, love it. No, I would love, every time I have you speak, I ask you to tell your mortgage why, because I think it's so profound, so powerful. A lot of folks who are on this call or listening to this recording, they probably heard you say it before, but I don't think it gets old. And then I also want to know, when did you come up with this? When did you really get this clear on your mission?
Yeah, it was probably in about 2009. You know, again, there was a big shift in my head. There was a big shift in our business, and I really just started to see. I'd always been somebody that liked to teach. Even as a little kid, you know, when you play dress up as little girls, I was the teacher. I loved to write on the chalkboard. Like, that was my thing when I was little. So it was kind of funny that my journey has led me to doing a lot of teaching and sharing of information. So my mission is to provide an honest, well-communicated, and knowledge-based lending experience to my community. That's what I do. And I either do that directly with the consumer, or I do that through business partners or builders, really just taking all that I've gathered over these 20 years and bringing it to our community and sharing and giving.
Well, you're a great teacher. Super appreciate some of the videos you created for the Mortgage Coach community. This video you created, you know, how to create a Mortgage Coach video, and you showed us how you do it. So folks, in the recording of this, there will be a link to this video along with a few others. So let's get right into the content. You know, one of the biggest challenges loan officers have when it comes to speaking in public, it's one, you know, why should they do it? And two, it's getting over the fear. So Kelly, first, let's just do your, you know, speaking to large groups, why? Kathryn, I'm going to ask you that same question, and then we'll get into the whole fear, and then we'll get into exactly what you're doing. So why large groups, Kelly?
Well, I really didn't set out to talk to large groups, Dave. In fact, for me, it was a debilitating fear, honestly, to even think about speaking to a large group. I was approached about 10 years ago from a community leader, and she had a networking group of women that met about, well, it was definitely once a month, and there was probably 250 women that would join this group every month. And she asked me to be the director of the group. And part of the director's responsibilities is standing at a podium and conducting the meeting and talking. And I just told her, I can't. There's no way I could do that. I mean, I don't like the way my voice sounds, and when I get nervous, it gets very high. You know, I would start to break a sweat. My knees would be shaking so much that it was just, there was no way I could do it. So the next year, and a whole year went by, she came back and said, Kelly, I am back, and something's telling me you have to do this. And I knew she was right. I knew I was letting myself down. I knew that I was letting my team down. It just really, probably the biggest part of it was just me. Like, I just knew I needed to get past this. I just didn't know how. So I said, okay, sign me up. I'm going to do it. Because I'm a little feisty, for those of you that know me or don't know me. So I set out on this path of trying to figure out how to conquer the fear. And so I hired a speaking coach. I started to read and learn as much as I could about fear and about public speaking. So that was 10 years ago, and now I speak often. It doesn't mean I don't get nervous. I certainly do, but it's a controlled kind of nervous, or a good nervous. You know, when people say that, people are always like, what does that mean? There is a difference between fearful nervousness and good nervous. Good nervous, that energy, those butterflies, I probably will never stop getting those, but it's different today.
Right. So when you think of the results you get, you know, how would you quantify just the value you get as a result of, you know, and let's kind of break it up, call it your CE training for realtors, and then the broader, you know, call it the, you know, the sales training, the video training, the other strategic training that you do for realtors. How would you, is there a way to quantify the results that you get?
It's really difficult, because what it has done for me over this 10-year period has truly helped me to not only create the brand, but continue the brand, you know, which is all based on education. So, you know, a lot of times I'll get a referral from a realtor that maybe saw me speak at a CE class and then heard me talk somewhere else on another topic, and they're in my database. So that's the key, is everybody that attends anything that I speak at goes into the database. So then they just start to get my weekly updates, which are video oriented. They get to know me a little bit. I get to know them a little bit. And so we start building on this informational type of process. And so it's difficult to say, well, I get X dollars or X units per year. That's just not the way it's worked.
Got it. Got it. Well, good. Well, Kathryn, let's transition to you. You know, if you could speak to the one, why you speak to large groups, and then two, let's address, you know, how did you overcome the fear? Because I know you also had to overcome a fear to even be in the position you're at today.
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. So first, it was kind of the why. There was a lot of agents who would ask the same questions a lot, and I was learning that they didn't have enough information that they needed on what we were doing to do their job effectively. So I started thinking, okay, how can I get that information out quickly and efficiently? And CE classes kind of came to mind as something that we could do to get that word out. So went and, you know, started with one and added another and kind of it built from there. And in addition, you know, we also did some homebuyer education and things like that. There was a lot of just miscommunication in our market about what certain loans were and weren't. So just clearing that up was kind of my first why, of I wanted them to be the best agents they could be to really make everyone's job better and easier and serve the client more. So that was a lot of the why behind what I started. And then speaking to kind of getting over the fear, for me, everyone's nervous when they speak in front of people. I don't think there's somebody who, you know, as Kelly said, there's good and bad, but at the same time, you have to realize that you're doing good, and people are not going to pick up on everything wrong that you're doing and everything that you think you're doing in your head. You're having a whole different thing go on of, oh my gosh, how do I look? I said, that's strange. I shouldn't have said it that way. And you're evaluating as you're speaking. And I think that's part of just getting focused and staying focused on educating who's in front of you. And also, I always think about that those are my friends, those are my colleagues, even if I've never met them. They're people who I want to help. And so it makes it a little easier when you feel like you have some value go on and you really, you know, are giving them something that you feel like will be really useful for them. So that's been easier. And I've also, you know, I didn't get a speaking coach, although it's sounding like a better idea. But for me, I slowly kind of grew the groups that I was speaking to and kind of got thrown into the fire a few times, which is also a good way to kind of be around it and learn quickly. So that was really how I got to where I am now with the speaking piece of it. It doesn't bother me as much. It's the more you do it, the more comfortable you become. There's lots of ways to get experience in speaking, certainly.
Love it, love it. So, by the way, Kelly and Kathryn, feel free to ask each other questions along the way. So if you have a question for each other, jump in with that question. So, I mean, I think we've got really clear on the why. I think, you know, how you overcome fear, you guys just did it. One thing that I took away from, you know, the interviews I've had with both of you is that you were really clear on the why. You know, you wanted to be super successful. So success is something that is important to you. Helping families is something that's important to you. You both do a lot of volume. You both are highly respected by the agents in your marketplace. So I think we've covered that. Let's talk about the how. You know, how do you market it? How do you promote it? Both of you have sent me some examples of some of your marketing. You know, Kelly, you know, if you could walk us through what I have up on the screen, and then just share for all the loan officers that are on this call right now, you know, give them a little bit about the how. How do we actually get started, and how do we get people to show up to our sessions?
Great question. So we actually do a few different things. We will post the classes on my website. We usually partner with a title person. So our title reps here, many of them are very successful, and they do a great job of inviting people. So not only will the invite go out to my database, but will now go out to a title partner's database as well. So we do our best to be strategic with regard to who we're inviting, what the demographic is, where they're at, what the topic is, etc. We use social media, Facebook, email invites. Sometimes I'll do a video to invite them and just kind of do a debrief on why they should come. So that's been very successful. Really, the goal here is just interaction. I think in our market in particular, realtors get inundated with CE class invites, from title companies and lenders, etc. So we do our best to try to make our stand apart, and definitely use social media to help with that.
Good. So we're looking at some marketing. So there's an email that goes out, as she said it, sometimes with a video. Your courseware that you have at the materials is branded, super professional, and you're using social media. So Facebook. Are you using Facebook and LinkedIn, or is there anything else that you're using?
No, primarily Facebook and
Okay.
just email. Yeah.
Really? So Facebook is a big part of what creates
Huge.
awareness and brings people in.
Yeah, huge. Yep.
Really? So
Yeah.
so give me just a couple of plays. How many posts do you put? How far in advance of your class do you start promoting it? And just give us a sense of what that would look like on your website or on your Facebook page.
So usually the class is posted, the CE we usually have booked out a month in advance. So as soon as we know about it, it goes on the website. We'll really start to actively promote it about 10 to 14 days prior to the event. We've tested this, and if we go too far out, it doesn't work. People forget, other things come up. So about 10 days seems to be that window. We'll do an invite out to the database. We will post it on Facebook, and then we'll come back and post it again 2 days before the event, sometimes the day before, but just to kind of remind people that it's out there. We do a call, follow-up call on all the RSVPs, just to, again, remind people. So it's a pretty strategic approach in the sense that the goal is to have 15 to 20 people attend the class.
So 15 to 20 people. When you say you market it to your database, how many realtors are getting an invite or getting this kind of email and material? Just to give us some sense of how many people are getting invited.
A lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
That's good.
Remember, I've been doing this a long time, so there's a pretty big database there. But again, we will be strategic with regard to the invite, meaning that if I'm in the far East Valley and Maricopa County is really spread out, then we might just focus on areas or people that serve the far East Valley. Same thing for the far West Valley and Scottsdale. So sometimes we'll open it up to the whole database. Sometimes we'll just kind of hone in on a particular area.
Got it. All right. And partnering with a title partner and anybody else that you think is strategic. So Kathryn, your turn. We've got some samples of some of the content you use to promote the class. Obviously, what we're looking at here looks like it's outside of your office. But if you wouldn't mind speaking to, how you market this and how you get people to show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we do a bunch of things. We also do emails, and we do kind of a phone call blast and a bunch of different things like that. We also still have an active MLS meeting, which I think we're probably the last place in the world that does that. But so I also bring the handouts there. If I talk to an agent who's asking me questions, I encourage them to come. So it's a whole bunch of different ways. We get it out to the individual offices, to the office managers, and just do whatever we can to get people there. We have only maybe 350 real estate agents, so we have to hit a lot of them, or really all of them, get it in one form or another. I'd probably harass them all. But yeah, because we certainly try to shoot for those same numbers as far as class numbers, but sometimes we certainly have less than that. But it's something that's just kind of in your everyday speaking too, so that as you're out there talking to agents, hey, did you know I have a class coming up this week or next week or whatever. We're lucky also that the MLS board here helps me promote my own classes. So they actually send it out to the membership as well, and they put it in their updates, and they put it on their website so that people can register right through there. So it's kind of a way for me to get the word out through somebody else. So it certainly, we get a lot of people who come because of that as well.
Love it, love it. And then is this what goes outside of your office or the area where you're doing training? What's that right there?
Yeah, so I do the training at the local MLS office, which has this great room. And so because we do it off-site, I bring this, and that way people just see it and they know that, yeah, they're in the right place, and also agents coming in and out of that board office will see that as well and know that, wait, I forgot that she did those classes. So it's just another way to do it. I'll also put that if I go to something else or go to a specific real estate office or something like that can help as well. So it's just something we had made, so we were kind of ready to rock if we were doing something to get a little bit more signage out of it.
Super professional, great branding, and opportunity to position yourself as a leader. I love it. And then, Kelly, I know you've got a great training room. I've actually had the honor to be there while we're actually training some of your branch managers, and I've just been an outsider watching some of your video training. If you could just speak to where you do your trainings most often, what percentage of them are in your training center versus outside of your office?
Yeah, sure. So I do about 25% here in our office, and then the rest off-site. So I'll do it either at the local real estate school that I work through. I'll do it in brokers' offices. I'll do it in title company offices. Sometimes title companies don't have the space, so they'll work with a restaurant, and we'll go in and do it in a restaurant kind of meeting area within the restaurant. I don't love the restaurant, but it will work. I mean, sometimes they're just so loud that I can't hear them, or they can't hear me just because of the acoustics. But yeah, libraries, I mean, I'll talk anywhere, Dave.
Yeah, but I think this came up last time when we talked about this, is that restaurant is, the last option. And Kathryn, do you support that also? Restaurant is the place you least want to do a training event?
Yeah, I try to do everything I can to encourage it to move, because people are distracted, and then I want to eat too, and I can't eat and talk at the same time. So
Right.
Yeah, no restaurants.
Yeah, right. Good. And then real quick, I forgot to ask you, Kathryn, what is your kind of marketing ramp? Kelly said that, hey, 10 days is kind of the magic time. You do it too earlier, they don't commit. You do it too much later. What is your ramp for marketing and promoting your events?
Yeah, so if we can time it, I actually even sometimes pull that in even closer, and we obviously get this same handout out well in advance, but then we really start pushing it, the MLS meeting before we get people who say, oh, I want to go right now. And yeah, typically about that, but we've got the whole schedule lined out months and months in advance, but then, yeah, we're probably heavy about a week and then a few days even before we send one. Typically it's 7 and then 3 as far as emails go.
So just to be clear, so you plan months in advance, so you've got it written down somewhere, it's on a calendar, you're speaking to it, but in terms of really putting a push and a hit, it's really within a week. You're doing most of the promotion and marketing.
Yeah, they generally have this handout, obviously months, so that they know what's coming up, but people forget, so we always do that heavy push right before. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. So I know something else I wanted to talk about from a mortgage coach perspective. Everybody on this call, they are mortgage coach members. They have mortgage coach as a way of telling stories, explaining strategies. So I asked each of you to talk about, what is the mortgage strategy that you're talking to with realtors the most, or that you're talking to realtors now? Kelly, I want to, big thank you on behalf of the whole mortgage coach community. Kelly was kind enough to, go over and above. So not only did she provide us with a rent versus own total cost analysis, but she created a video for the mortgage coach community. So in this video, it's her kind of explaining the strategy, and then it's actually her scripting on what she would say in a realtor to videos, or excuse me, a video to realtors. So Kelly, if you could just kind of speak to this in your own words and describe the rent versus own that you provided, why did you do this scenario, and just put a little color around it so everybody knows how to have a similar conversation with their agents.
Sure. So for me, I think rent to own is one of those tactics that's so helpful to realtors. And, they all have these prospective buyers out there, but they either, can't get them to take the next step, or really don't know what to say other than maybe just giving standard types of information that they get through their brokerages on millennial buyers or, home buying in 2016, et cetera. So my thought was to try to take a really big concept and chunk it down and use Mortgage Coach to do that. What I love about the rent to own is it not only allows us to back into, so what I did was just use kind of the average median price in Maricopa County, which is roughly $225,000. And I actually had a client who was paying $34 in rent every month. So I took the $225 purchase price and then just backed into it in 4 different scenarios, home loan scenarios, and showed them not only the cash to close, but also I showed a down payment assistance program, and I showed the monthly payment. But I think really where the win is the ability to get into the tax benefit as well as the net worth over a period of time. I think we all talk to people about, oh, you could be paying that in a house payment for what you're paying in rent, but to be able to go a little bit deeper, and Mortgage Coach allows for that in the cost analysis, to focus on after 10 years, after 15 years, after whatever term you want, you can plug in the numbers on that and it will show an estimated net worth based on a conservative appreciation level, etc. So I love that. I mean, it just fits so well into what I do, which is to communicate and educate and really just try to get the light bulb to go off. And sometimes the graphs in Mortgage Coach help to do that.
Love it, love it. So folks, just to be clear, we put a link to this in the description of YouTube where you're watching this. In the description area, there'll be a link to Kelly's video where she explains the strategy. And then there'll be a link to her actual rent versus own total cost analysis. She also put a video on that. So really walks you through how she's bringing this leadership to agents. Because at the end of the day, it's all about helping a family understand their options, making a confident decision. And let's face it, from a realtor standpoint, when it comes to first-time homebuyers, if you could actually help a family have more clarity, usually that means more sense of urgency. You're really bringing a lot of value to the table. So Kelly, before we move on and we have Kathryn explain her rent versus own, is there anything else you want to speak to as it pertains to this?
Well, I think that, when I first started with Mortgage Coach, and Dave, honestly, I think it's fair to tell the entire Mortgage Coach community that you pounded me for, I don't know, maybe a year and a half, and it was hard for me to get here because I am fairly systematic in my approach, and to incorporate a whole nother process was a big deal in my world. I'm so glad that I did, and thank you so much for staying on top of me and just kind of coaching me to get to this point, because now I don't know what I would do without Mortgage Coach. So, but when I first started doing the cost analysis, it was really consumer driven. It was here's the pre-qual, here's what you're qualified for, here's the information. And then now that I've been doing it for so long, now I really kind of take it to the next level of how can I use this to touch more people, impact more people, create, the educational need for different types of people, whether that's a builder, whether that's a realtor, whether that's a broker, whether that is a realtor having an open house. We can get very specific with that particular need, and I'm just loving the opportunity to be able to use Mortgage Coach in so many different ways than I ever thought I could.
Yeah, well, you definitely are pushing the envelope now, and you're providing it. Just to go through the flow and where all the points you're delivering value, if my memory serves me correct, you're doing it for the pre-qual, then you're updating it once they put a home in escrow to kind of net out the options, right?
Yep.
And then and if I recall, you're doing something within the transaction. What are you updating the video or doing something within before it closes? No, okay. So you're not doing that, and I know you're not doing the annual review, but yet, at least not yet. And you're also, from a lead development standpoint, you're now using it with your realtor partners to create, value and urgency and just more value for your agents. Are those the places you're currently doing it?
So I see that there's 4 phases of Mortgage Coach with the consumer. So the first one is definitely doing it the pre-qual stage. The second part of where I do it is once we receive the purchase contract, I'm getting very, very specific based on that home, those taxes, that HOA, the contract, who's paying for what. Then I update the TCA, and then I do a video to the client saying, hey, congratulations, we're so excited. Next steps in the process are, and I kind of just chunk down the cost analysis so they can take a peek and we can start engaging in the conversation of locking. So that's kind of what I would call phase 2. Phase 3 is once the loan closes, we're going in and we're updating. So I'm calling it kind of like a post-closing update to Mortgage Coach. Just doing the update in there, yeah. And then that one, you know, a lot of people want to see if I pay an extra $100 per month or this or that. We can do that, but the key here is that if I do 3 consistently, which is the part of the modules that we're working on now, is post-closing, getting Mortgage Coach for every client set up according to exactly how the loan closed. That way when we implement the annual reviews, it's already in there. It's already done. They're very used to seeing it. So we're just coming back a year later saying, hey, Dave, gosh, it's been 1 year. Wanted to let you know we've updated your cost analysis. There's a refi opportunity or there's not, or hey, our market's appreciating at 7%, or whatever I want to say at that point in time. So 4 phases is how I see it coming together.
Yeah, and the beauty is you've trained them that, hey, I've got my app, my total cost analysis app, or whatever you call it, and these numbers are just updating. Your video is updating as you go. So beautiful. Great. So if anybody is listening to this before September 23rd, there's a big event going on. Kelly, if you could real quick put in a plug for the Mortgage Girlfriends event.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've never talked at this event, but excited to go to Chicago and share a little bit about videos and how I'm using videos in my process. Not only will Mortgage Coach be there, thank you so much, Dave, for you guys coming out and contributing to this event, but also how else I use video, because it's not just through the cost analysis. I use video in a lot of different ways in my marketing strategy. So that's what I'm going to talk about.
So great event. A bunch of amazing women are meeting up on September 23rd in Chicago. Linda Verardi from the Mortgage Coach team is going to be representing our team, and she's going to be talking a little bit about Mortgage Coach. But it's just a great place to meet. You know, Karen Dice is such an amazing leader and teacher in the mortgage industry, and it's an event not to be missed. So
it actually starts on the 22nd, Dave, just FYI in case anybody's listening. So it's the 22nd and the 23rd. I'm speaking on the 23rd, but certainly you want to be there for the start, which is on the 22nd.
Thank you, Kelly, for that. Thank you. So Kathryn, I know this is a conversation you're having within some of your live events. This is also a conversation you have with a lot of agents. So could you just walk us through your Mortgage Coach FHA versus conventional versus USDA?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is something we created, and I use it with clients and with real estate agents, but this specific example was more for a class that I was doing, just to show them a little bit of the difference between, hey, here's what someone might be paying for rent, here's what something would look like with USDA, FHA, conventional, and then obviously adding in a seller credit as well as if the seller paid closing costs to the client. So this gives the agents a good idea of a comparison of all the programs, and then also gives them an idea of what we can do for their clients. So we're really getting some marketing speed out of this in addition to educational, where we're saying, hey, here's a way to show the differences, but here's also a way that we can help your clients. So it kind of does 2 in 1, because we have a whole bunch of different loan options here. Because we're rural, we can provide some programs that a lot of the big town lenders don't understand or don't do a lot of. So that's really helped us get a little bit of a competitive advantage to show them, hey, if your client isn't getting offered this program, they're missing out potentially. So it just gives us a good idea, a good way to show that, which is so concise and so clean. And then after the fact, we've got a video ready to go that we send with the link to the Mortgage Coach, the scenario that basically says, hey, thanks for coming to the class. Here's the link to the scenario we discussed. We can do this for your client. Let us know how we can help. So something short and sweet, thanking them, and then also showing them how everything, kind of how it looks live.
Love it. So folks, first of all, I want to make sure you caught something she said. So the strategies that she laid out are something that gives her a competitive advantage. So every other lender is not necessarily showing the USDA with seller credit. So think of programs. Again, in her market, there's a lot of rural homes. There's things that are very specific that she specializes in that other lenders don't. But let's face it, most lenders aren't even strategic when it comes to finances. Most lenders are selling rates and fees, and they're selling price. So think about what can you position, what can you do that's super unique, super valuable to a realtor, create a total cost analysis, and then just explain the story and the strategy. By the way, in the description of this YouTube, there's also a link to this scenario that Kathryn made for everyone. So she added a video here just to give you a little bit more color and, around what she does and how she does it. So, we're getting towards the end here, and I would love for each of you to ask each other a question. So I don't know who wants to go first, but Kelly, I would love for you to ask Kathryn a question or two, and Kathryn, any questions you have for Kelly. Kelly, we'll let you go first. Any questions for Kathryn?
Yeah, absolutely, Kathryn. I think you're just doing such an amazing job with Mortgage Coach and your teaching. One thing I'd like to know is when you're meeting with a new realtor, walk me through how you incorporate Mortgage Coach into that conversation. So if you can just kind of tell me that, do you take your iPad, do you take your phone, are you showing the TCA while you're there? Do you follow up afterwards with the TCA that's specific maybe to them? Kind of just walk me through that.
Yeah, so if it's an agent that we're kind of courting a little bit and say, hey, great, let's get you into the fold and get you going. Yeah, absolutely. We've got a whole PowerPoint presentation that we do that shows our marketing systems and our IPCs and in-process communications and all of that. And in that, we'll pull up one of these Mortgage Coach. We have some that are these marketing ones, and we'll do that on the iPad. And a lot of times I'll just also have them pull it up on their phone. We can send them one and do it that way as well. Or I'll show it on my phone. And that will help them just kind of see exactly what that client experience looks like for their client from start to finish with marketing, including the Mortgage Coach scenarios. And then a lot of times if it makes sense, we'll loop them in when we're sending those out to clients too, so they can pop in there and see what in the heck we're doing as well. So that just gives them a good kind of overview of where their client is and the experience that they're getting, because they don't always get to see what the client experience is, and I think that that's pretty important for them too. Does that help?
Yes, I love it. And I think one thing to really capitalize on here is that she's utilizing and leveraging Mortgage Coach and this cost analysis to the realtor, because how many of you, because I've been there, so I'm not embarrassed to say, well, okay, I am embarrassed to say, but at some point in my career, I was sending, the fee worksheet out of points. And, we would send how many of those? 4 of them on, the PDF in an attachment, which, let's face it, is not necessarily an easy way for people to process the information. So I just think that what you're doing is incredible, and I think we can all learn from it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Appreciate it.
No doubt. And I do want to remind everybody, every Wednesday at 11 o'clock Pacific, we do a live training called Mobile Conversations, and we teach you how to use your mobile phone to explain stories, explain strategies, how to share it while you're meeting with a realtor or a buyer. Click the share button. So we're doing live training on that. Plus there are recordings of those trainings. So there's just a lot of resources. But everybody on this call, you should know how to have a 1-minute conversation. Pull your mobile app out, explain a story or a strategy to an agent, how to share it while you're with them so that they walk away from that conversation understanding how you're different, how you're valuable, and how you're better. So that was awesome. Great question, Kelly. Kathryn, do you have any questions for Kelly?
Yeah, so can you give me an idea of some of the classes that you teach? I'm so impressed with how many classes you do and how often you're in front of people. And then second is, how do you kind of carve out the time for all of those classes? Because I'm sure it takes a ton of time, and is there someone special that you have that just kind of handles those classes for you?
Yeah, so I do have a marketing assistant, so their job is to do all of the RSVPs, prepare the flyers, get them distributed. They will work with me on preparing all of the presentation materials, whether it's PowerPoint or a handout, etc. So the goal is by the time it's time for me to show up, I show up. That's all I do. I walk in, You know, I meet and greet, I share my soul and everything I know about mortgage lending on that topic, and then I go back to the office. That wasn't the way it always was, so truly having somebody in your office or on your team that can help you with this really does make it where it's not so time-consuming as one might think.
And describe some of the classes you're doing, Kelly. Just, what are the classes? Help, let's get some ideas for everybody on the call of the types of trainings that you're doing, and if you could break out the CE versus the one that are more strategic in nature.
Sure. So my CE classes currently are, I'm teaching a contract law class, which is probably my most favorite. What I do is take the AAR contract and really focus on the financing section of the contract, how the contract views days when it comes to certain processes that are required through it, and then really link in how that relates to the mortgage side of the equation. So that one I've been teaching, gosh, probably maybe 6 years now. A great feedback, and so that's the first part of the class. The second part of the class is we really dive deep into the loans that are available, some of the nuances to them, and just again trying to pour information into the audience on topics that they think they might know or that maybe they've heard in the past but are different today. So that's one class. I have a disclosure class on reverse mortgages that I'm currently teaching. This is a fairly new class. I've got a trade class, which we really aren't teaching much of anymore, but certainly last year it was a big deal and I taught a lot of those. And I've got a fair housing class out there. So those are the CE classes. Outside of that, I teach and talk on really anything that has to do with the mortgage lending process. So VA loans are really big right now in our community, doing a lot of talking on those. I love teaching video classes to realtors. I think everybody wants to do video, they just don't know where to start. So that's been a great class. I'm having a lot of fun doing that.
Love it. Well, everybody on this call, make sure you put a video on all your Mortgage Coach reports, and also make sure that you listen to the call that Kelly did, or the training that she did around how to use and how to create Mortgage Coach videos. So we're getting right at the point where we want to wrap up today's call. But Kathryn, I want to make sure you get a chance to share the types of training that you're doing. So if you wouldn't mind giving us an overview of the different courses that you're also doing.
Yeah, so we've got the ones listed here: Mortgage 101, 102, which you don't have to take 101 before you take 102, is just more advanced. Contracts and lending, which go through some of the same things that Kelly's contract law class goes into, also specific to Colorado contracts. USDA, and then we also have an FHA class and a VA class. So those are the ones we've got currently. In the past, yes, we've had a trade class with some other things that we've phased out since, but yeah, so those are kind of the basics, and I'm looking to add a few more. We try to stay kind of in tune with the real estate offices and the managers in those offices to say, okay, what are some things that your agents might need some extra training on, and then we work on getting that CE certified.
Awesome. Well, this has been an awesome call. Thank you so much for jumping on, even though we had some hiccups from the first time that we did this. I think we netted it out really well. I want to remind everybody that we have live Mortgage Coach training every single day of the week. Every Monday, it's Intro to Mortgage Coach. Every Tuesday, I'm interviewing someone. Every Wednesday, it's all about mobile. Every Thursday, it's just Q&A. We've got 100 people on that training, and we make sure everybody gets their questions answered. We do demos on Wednesdays and Fridays. And then every single day of the week, our trainers have Mortgage Coach University going on. So we have live training going on around different things. Again, you can see our calendar. It's updated daily online. So if you want to see what's going on in Mortgage Coach education, every day there's something amazing happening. This recording, along with all of our calls, are added to our YouTube channel. So I'll give each of you guys 1 minute, just any closing thoughts. Kelly, you can go first. Any closing thoughts for everybody listening to this training?
Yeah, I think, the thing I'd like to just close with, Dave, is that we all are fearful of something. And if that something is standing in your way of really taking your business to the next level, just attack it. Own it. Say, yep, I'm afraid of this, and figure out how to push past it.
Love it. And Kathryn, your final words of thought for every loan officer, manager, and mortgage professional on the call.
Yeah, just start with one class. Pick something that you know a lot about, move ahead with that, create the outline, and just approach it that way. And once you do one, it makes it easy to do the second and the third.
Yeah, and I have this little quote from you, Kathryn, from our top producer interview, but you said it over and over and over. No excuses, just follow through on your promises. So hopefully this was a valuable 45 minutes of your time. Have a wonderful day, and make sure to come to our other training events. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate you.